Hello everybody and welcome to Tiger Tales, a place you'll find stories and fanfictions written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Well, normally, today we're diving back into our beloved partner, our Parabatai, and our dear friend, Cosplay Dude 637, and his stories. See, he's done a clear out on his podcast, Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637. Most of the stories could be paired off into their own podcasts, such as his Power Rangers storylines went on to Power Rangers Universe 19, his Order story, which is original stuff, had its own podcast altogether, but then there's a few storylines that he didn't know where to put, so I offered him to put them on the Tiger Tales channels. One of them has gone into Game Over, and then the rest of them have gone on to here. So right now we're playing catch up. This story was originally on Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637, but from now on, the rest of this story from here on out will be brand new to this channel. So make sure you check out Cosplay Dude 637's other podcast related stuff, which will be in the outro. So let's dive in. The X-Men, Chapter 3. Together we stand.
The compound that the cult of Tiktarik called home was heavily guarded, with motion sensors and laser turrets on an electric fence. To say that they did not want guests was an understatement. Lucky for Gambit, he had Nightcrawler, who was able to teleport the whole group into the main yard. There they were met by men with guns. Big guns. And some flamethrowers. Rogue attacked the men with guns. The four men did not stand a chance with her invulnerability and super strength. The four men with flamethrowers were left to Gambit, Nightcrawler, and the Beast. Nightcrawler grabbed a hold of the flamethrowers off each man's back. Beast sent two of the men flying into a back wall with a barrel roll, into a 2-foot flying kick. Gambit charged up with 2 cards, dealt with the last 2. Not a bad start, Gambit says. Duh, just like the old days, Nightcrawler says. Don't get too overconfident, sweetie. The real work starts now, Rogue says, flying over to them. Verily, this is not a simple lock, Beast says, and pulls out a small Palm Pilot from his belt and plugs it into the door lock. Sugar, you want me just to knock it down? Rogue asks. As lovely as that would be watching you work, my dear Rogue, the door would give even the moody Wolverine a hard time, Beast says, working away on his Palm Pilot. In the distance, heavy boot prints can be heard in a quick pace motion. Anyway, you all could hurry this up? Gambit asks. Patience is a virtue, my boy, Beast says. Ja, not with that many guards coming, Gambit says, and draws out his collapsible bowstaff. Right as the guards were able to be seen, the door popped open. And like that, it is done, Beast says, putting away his gear. The group race inside and slam the door behind them. Rogue slams the lock, and then Gambit, using a charged card, melts the door brackets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a group of men for any task that our tax-paying social justice system won't and cannot handle. Whether it's rescues, scaring someone, murder, maybe someone owes you money, maybe you don't feel safe, then hire these amazing mutants. A team for any mission for any easy fee. Call the number on our screen for the Mutants for Hire now!
The band of heroes make their way through the complex, taking out all the guards and cult members they run across. When they come to the room where the cross was being held, they find it sitting under a very high-tech glass case. Beast, you're up again, Gambit says. I shall endeavor to unlock our prize, Beast says. Gambit, Rogue, and Nightcrawler stand guard while Beast works on the computer that was attached to the glass. This may not be so easy. There is a triple encryption on this lock. Even with hooking up my Palm Pilot, it would take me more time than we have, my friends, Beast explains. Rogue smiles and walks over to where Beast was standing. I got this one, hun, Rogue says, and hard punches the glass. The glass shatters into pieces and every alarm in the place starts going off. Time to go, mon friends, Nightcrawler says. Rogue grabs the cross and her and the others grab onto Nightcrawler. In a poof of smoke, Nightcrawler teleports with the whole group to St. Louis Cathedral's front lawn. Gambit smiles at his teammates. Well, mes amis, we did it. Do you know how to contact the external? Beast asks. In a flash of light, the external known as Kendra stands before them. Oui, Like that, Gambit replies. You all did well with the cross back. My kind is once again safe, Kendra says, holding out her hands. Honey, you get this when we get what you said, Rogue says. Kendra smiles down at her and snaps her fingers, and the group is all inside the cathedral. I shall grant you your wish, but I will do it in private. And Gambit, I will even grant you a wish, even though this was your mess, Kendra says and flies through a wall into a back room of the cathedral. Psst! Hey, you! Yeah, you! No, you right there! Are you a fan of Power Rangers? Do you like listening to people just randomly talk about all kinds of subjects? Well then do I got the podcast for you. Zero to Hero, the podcast. Jim and Billy, the bulk and skull of podcasting, talk about everything from Power Rangers to Gundams to who has the better hairstyle. These guys don't care. It doesn't matter to these guys. They will talk about it. You need to go check them out. That's Zero to Hero, the podcast. On Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it, they're on there. So go check them out. Trust me, you'll enjoy it. Nightcrawler was the one that decided to go back first. Shut the door, Kendra smiles at him. Kurt Wagner. What may I grant you, she asked. Nightcrawler smiles up at her. I would just like to go back to the school, Don Fräulein, Nightcrawler says. Kendra nods at him and snaps her fingers, teleporting him back to Xavier's school for the gifted. Next was Beast, and for him it was the same wish. Now it was Rogue's turn. Gambit paces outside the room waiting for his turn. After a few minutes, Rogue comes out, a huge smile on her face. Before Rogue could even speak, Gambit darted into the room, closing the door and locking it. Well, Remy, it is your turn. What is your one heart's desire? Kendra asks. Shell, there is only one thing I can ask for. I want to be immune to Rogue's powers, Gambit tells her. Kendra sighs and looks down. I cannot grant that wish. I am sorry, Remy, Kendra says. You told us we could have anything that I wanted. I want this, Gambit demands. I am sorry, Remy, but I cannot do that, Kendra says, and disappears with the cross in hand. Gambit storms out of the room and past Rogue. Sugar, what did you wish for? Rogue says, flying up next to him. It doesn't matter, Cher. Just go back to the school, where you belong, Gambit shouts, walking outside. Rogue flies up behind him and tackles him to the ground, where she pins him down and kisses him. Gambit is a bit shocked, but he kisses her back and waits for the power to be drained away.
Hi, I'm Billy, and you're listening to Cosplay Dude 637. Only on the Zero to Hero Network.
Rogue's true mutant power is she can drain the life energy from people she has skin-to-skin contact with. In the case of mutants, she also drains their powers, for a short time. Gambit, knowing this full well, was ready to pass out from the power drain, but it never happened. Rogue pulled back and looked at him. You darn fool! I wish that you would be immune to my powers, Rogue says. Gambit, still a bit dazed and confused, smiled. So, that's why she couldn't grant my wish? Rogue gets up off Gambit and helps him to his feet. Yes, sugar. Now you can touch me. We can finally be together, Rogue says. Gambit pulls Rogue into a hug. I have wanted this to happen for so long. I had given up all hope, he says. Rogue smiles and hugs him back. Hun, we can go back to the school and get my stuff, and I'll move here with you, she says. Gambit shakes his head no. I only did not return to the school because I knew you would be there, Cher. And I could not bear to see you hurt knowing we could not touch or truly be together, Gambit says. Rogue looks at him with awe. We are going back to the school, but this time, we stay there, Gambit says with a huge smile, and they kiss once again.
This story was written and read to you by Cosplay Dude 637. Make sure you check him out. Now, on to the outro.
This podcast is a production of the Three Ranger Bros Studios, in association with Zero to Hero, the podcast.
And there we have it, guys. Thank you very much for listening to this story. If you've enjoyed this story, then you might want to check out all of my Tiger Tales channels. I'm going to give you a quick rundown. There's Tiger Tales, the first and the original. This is a place where you'll find stories and fanfictions diving into all sorts of fandoms, including Power Rangers, Pokemon, The Walking Dead, Marvel, DC, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and so much more. Tiger Tales The Lost Stories follows the same suit, but all the stories on that channel are in the first person perspective. Then there's Tiger Tales Game Over, a channel where all of the storylines are related to video games in some way or another. Then we have Tiger Tales X, where I write official crossovers that aren't needed but are very wanted, and crossovers I thought might work. Then, of course, we have Tiger Tales Mysterious Origins. This is the YouTube channel dedicated to my own original stories. All the stories on this channel are original and my own, and it also answers questions on certain characters throughout my stories like William Cranston, Mr. Pocket, and Ace from the Color Matrix. If you've enjoyed these storylines, then please make sure you check out the following podcasts. Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637, Power Rangers Universe 19, Sailor Moon E, and The Order. And make sure you check out 2 YouTube channels, Nostalgia Time and the One Piece audio drama. They are all written and read to you and edited by Cosplay Dude 637, my Parabatai and best friend. Then make sure you check out the podcast Nerds Through Comics, which is directed by Mark, the Red Corner Ranger. This is where he adapts comic books into audio dramas and also uploads his own original Power Ranger storylines. We are the 3 Ranger Bros Studios, a collaborative project, and we are all voice actors and helpers of each other's stuff, so make sure you go check us out. We're in association with the Zero to Hero podcast, so a huge shout out to Billy and Jim, the co-hosts, and of course the podcast and the community that they lead. If we're shouting out podcasts, I have to shout out Jared, the host of If You Give a Damn podcast. Make sure you check it out because he interviews some fantastic guests, from wrestlers to voice actors and the such. And of course, if we're talking podcasts, I have to mention my own, the Tiger Nexus podcast, where I interview content creators and geeks alike. A huge shout out to all my supporters and followers, my voice actors, the people who co-write my chapters, and the sorts. So huge thank you, and of course, a big shout out to A-Crown. Specifically him, because he helps me a lot with some of my stories, specifically the Color Matrix and the chapters that go on Tiger Tales Game Over. Thank you very much guys for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe to the channels, like the videos, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. With that being said, I shall see you guys in the next one.
That before we can...
Don't touch my Pringles.